people will, in fact, remember the name. Belal Muhammad has dethroned Leon Rocky Edwards following UFC 304. Now it is time to discuss what is next. Is there an immediate trilogy between these two bitter rivals, or is this rivalry set to the wayside for a while? They go their separate ways, and if they do go their separate ways, what is next for both fighters? What does the first title defense look like for Belal Muhammad? And what does the first fight for Leon Rocky Edwards post championship reign look like for him? Let's get into it right now. In the main event of UFC 304, we saw a one-sided win for Belal. Remember the name Muhammad, the new welterweight champion, as pretty much from start to finish, outside of round 3 and about 40 seconds in round 5, it was all Belal Muhammad. The official scorecards were 48-47 times 2, which is quite odd to me, and then a 49-46, which is the scorecard that I had. Belal Muhammad now is on an 11-fight unbeaten streak, one of the longest streaks that we have currently in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. None bigger than this here, where he settles the rivalry, at least for now, with Leon Edwards. He avenges that no contest that stopped the fight due to eye pokes dating back to 2021. And you have to really respect this grind, respect this win streak that Belal is on. Listen, fight style aside, because I know it's not the craziest, most fan-friendly fight style in the world, he is winning fights, and he's doing it convincingly against very, very good competition. If we want to just look at the latter half of this win streak, which is post no contest with Leon Edwards, it is Damian Maia, Stephen Thompson, Vicente Luque, a finish of the then undefeated Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns, and now Leon Edwards to become the welterweight champion of the world. He may have been a little cringy this week and hard to listen to, but I think he was just trying to psych himself up, and I think he was trying to hype this fight up a little bit, because you could see him kind of come back down to earth in the post-fight press conference, in the post-fight interview with Daniel Cormier, the way that he acted with the behind-the-scenes footage that has since came out following the event last night. So my hat is off to Belal Muhammad, because at the end of the day, your job is to win fights, and that is what he has done dating back to April 13th of 2019, when this very long win streak started. And for Leon Edwards, I feel like it's back to the drawing board. He did not have much to offer in this fight. When he was getting outstruck by Belal Muhammad, I knew that he didn't have the answers, which essentially meant we knew who the winner of this fight was going to be in round number 1. Because from the second that that bell sounded to begin this fight, Belal Muhammad pressed forward as he is known to do. He put Leon Edwards on his back foot, and Leon could not separate himself from the fence. He was constantly circling with his back against the cage. He had no room to maneuver. He had no room to counterstrike, and he could not press forward to get Belal to backpedal to the middle of the octagon. Belal did everything in his power to keep this fight in his realm, to control every aspect of this fight. He had 9 takedowns, numerous minutes of control time and ground and pound. He more than doubled the total strikes thrown in terms of output and landed for or against Leon Edwards. And he not only dominated this fight with the grappling outside of round 3, where Leon actually had the back of Belal for pretty much the entire third round. And then at the end, Leon landed a very nasty elbow that cut Belal open. Outside of that, he pitched a shutout in this fight, and he outstruck Leon on the feet as well. He landed the bigger shots. He was very defensively sound. The left high kick that Leon is known for doing, headshot dead, back to the Kamaru Usman fight that made Leon into a superstar. Belal defended and blocked every single one of those shots and continued to march Leon Edwards down. It really was a great performance from Belal. If we're talking a game plan perspective, he did everything he needed to do to absolutely neutralize the skill set of Leon Edwards. And I can't believe how successful that Belal was in the grappling, being that we go 3 straight fights that Leon Edwards has had prior to this one. Kamaru Usman twice and Colby Covington, where he had nothing but time to prepare for wrestlers and grapplers. Now, of course, in that rematch, the second fight with Kamaru Usman, where the headshot landed for Leon to become champion, he was losing that fight in large part due to the grappling discrepancy. But if you go to the third fight with Kamaru, he defended pretty much every takedown, was able to get up when he went down. And if you look at the Colby Covington fight, he hardly ever went down and even took down Colby a couple of times and pitched a shutout to Covington, which no one had ever really done before. So Belal really showed the levels to his game. And at 36 years old, not in the prime of his career, but still very much going strong at this point. Again, dating back over 5.5 years now since his last loss. You cannot deny this man as the new undisputed welterweight champion. And being that he is the new champion, that means that a new fresh face should be next for him as his first title defense. I don't think we go back to the well here and run the trilogy with him and Leon, being that it's not necessarily one apiece anyway. The first fight was a no contest, and Leon had 2 title defenses. What do you guys think? What is kind of that number of defenses before you think someone has earned or deserved the right to, if they lose their title, immediately challenge for it again? I feel like if you defend your belt 3 times or more, that's kind of the sweet spot here. So Leon falls one short, at least on my scale of immediate rematches. And therefore, I want to see 2 new fights, 2 new fresh faces for both Belal Muhammad and Leon Edwards. And this is how it should go down. First, for the new champion, Belal Muhammad, he should take on the undefeated rising prospect and now number 3 ranked welterweight in the world, at least before we head into Tuesday morning, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat Rakhmonov is entering his prime right now at 29 years old. He is 18-0 with 18 finishes, a 100% finish rate, and 6-0 in the UFC with 3 straight submissions over 3 ranked welterweight opponents: Stephen Thompson, Jeff Neal, and Neil Magny. Some people may say he hasn't earned it. I think that's crazy talk because not a lot of people do to Thompson, Neal, and Magny what he has done. This has to be the first title defense for Belal against Shavkat Rakhmonov, the seasoned veteran who's on an insane win streak, versus the up-and-coming prospect, the shiny, undefeated prospect in Shavkat Rakhmonov. That is a dynamic, interesting, enticing fight filled with storylines, filled with numerous skill sets for both guys. We know how great Belal is with his grappling and wrestling. Shavkat is kind of a jack of all trades, good everywhere. 8 knockouts and 10 submissions. He can get the job done wherever the fight goes. He's a very long, rangy fighter. Belal's more short and stalky, but fights with the pressure to close that distance. That has to be the first title defense for Belal Muhammad. And I think we're going to see that here within the next few months before the end of 2024. And for Leon Rocky Edwards, I think it is perfect timing for him to take a step back and fight Ian Machado Gary, the other undefeated rising prospect in this welterweight division. That's what makes this foursome of fighters even better to have formulate this way. If he takes on Ian Gary, they have a history. They both represent Europe. Leon from England and Ian Gary from Ireland. Undefeated striker, long and rangy for Ian Gary versus the not so long and rangy Leon Edwards, but an incredible striker and kickboxer in his own right. Put those two together in a 5-round fight night main event or a big time featured bout on a pay-per-view card. That is going to be a humongous fight for Leon to hold his place in title contention and for Ian Gary to become the number 1 contender and face the winner of Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Belal Muhammad. So be sure to let me know in the comments below, do you agree with me? Is that the route to go? Belal Muhammad's first title defense against the undefeated Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Leon Edwards taking his step back from the title picture and welcoming in the undefeated Ian Machado Gary. If that's not the way you want to see this division play out, please feel free to sound off in the comments below and give me your thoughts on who should be next for both Leon Edwards and Belal Muhammad. And from the main event welterweight championship fight, we will go to the co-main event heavyweight interim championship fight where Tom Aspinall has done it once more. He has knocked out Curtis Blaydes, and it only took 60 seconds. For this fight, there's not much to break down or recap because, again, it lasted 1 minute on the dot, and Tom Aspinall knocked out Curtis Blaydes. He landed a nasty left hook followed by a real quick straight right, and then that wobbled and put down Curtis Blaydes. Tom Aspinall immediately pounces on top for the ground and pound. Curtis was unable to get up. The referee, Mark Goddard, steps in and calls the fight off. So Tom Aspinall has now defended, or I'm going to word it this way actually. Tom Aspinall has now won an interim championship and defended the interim championship all in a span of 7 months. I mean, think about this for a second. 2 years ago, July 23rd of 2022, Aspinall goes down, blows his knee out against Curtis Blaydes. He has a 1-year layoff, comes back almost a year to the day on July 22nd of 2023, and he immediately gets right back into the mix by finishing Marcin Tybura in 1 minute and 13 seconds. And from there, gets put in on 2 weeks' notice to face Sergey Pavlovich for the interim championship. Once John Jones and Stipe Miocic got canceled last year, he knocks him out in 1 minute and 9 seconds and now has defended an interim championship in 1 minute on the dot. So each progressive fight has gotten shorter and shorter. I believe now his average fight time is 89 seconds in his UFC career thus far. Come on, man. This guy is one of the most special talents we've seen in UFC history, and especially in the heavyweight division's history. And you have to look at the people that he's beating and the way in which he's beating them. He's 15-3 now. All 15 victories are by stoppage. And the resume is insane. Blaydes, Pavlovich, Tybura, Volkov, Spivak, Andrei Arlovsky, and then, of course, a couple more to start the career with Jake Collier and Alan Baudot. Unbelievable stuff that we've seen Tom Aspinall accomplish dating back to September of 2021, or February of 2021, when he got that win over former champion Arlovsky. I will be honest with you, it really did hurt to see Curtis Blaydes go down here because once again, the narrative continues with his career. He gets to the biggest moment and falters. Now, typically it had been he would get to basically a number one contender fight and then get knocked out and not be able to fight for the belt. This time he got to the interim championship fight with a chance to get gold wrapped around his waist, and he gets put away by Tom Aspinall. So my heart goes out to Curtis Blaydes because he really opened up this week. I felt like a lot of fans got to grow their appreciation for him as a fighter and as a person. He was really speaking out and becoming an advocate for people, especially children with speech impediments, and wanting to just be someone of an inspiration for them. So my respect goes out to Curtis Blaydes. He's still, I believe, 34 years old, so still right in his prime years, especially for heavyweight. I think he can still climb back to title contention. It's just going to take a couple of more victories, but some time off for now as he awaits. He already just fought in March and now here against Aspinall, but we'll see what comes next for Curtis Blaydes. It will undoubtedly still be against more than likely a top 15 and, let's be honest, probably a top 10 opponent at the minimum. But now we must discuss Tom Aspinall and what comes next, because he made it pretty clear in the post-fight interview. John Jones, you are who Tom Aspinall wants to fight next. You are who he wants to prove himself against. You are who he wants to show the world that he is better than. But it won't come as easy as a call out and an acceptance on social media from John Jones, because as we all know, the UFC is dead set on doing John Jones versus Stipe Miocic in what looks to be November, Madison Square Garden. Now, John Jones' recent legal troubles have not been really brought up or discussed with Dana White. I didn't watch the full post-fight press conference last night, but I'm pretty sure no one talked to him about it last night. That could definitely throw a wrench into things, and I think for that reason alone, Tom Aspinall should stay ready and prepared to fight in November. Dana did say that he should be the backup fighter, which obviously he's the interim champion. Who else would you make the backup fighter? But here's the thing, at the end of the day, I'm not that interested in John Jones versus Stipe for fighting for the heavyweight championship because it just seems irrelevant. John Jones came in last March, beat Cyril Gane, who hadn't done anything to like be the champion. It was for a vacant belt that Francis Ngannou had to release when he left the UFC to go to the PFL. Let's not forget Cyril Gane had lost in a title fight to Francis Ngannou. So they just threw that fight together so John Jones could come back and return, and he won that fight. He became the heavyweight champion. He became the undisputed GOAT in my eyes. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I'm not hating on John Jones, but he has not fought now since last March. Look at everything Tom Aspinall has done since last March. He returned from a blown ACL, has won 3 straight fights in a combined less than 5-minute full round, and become the interim champion and defended the interim championship belt. If you get to a point where you are defending an interim championship belt, let's just turn it into the undisputed title, man. What else does a guy have to do? Because we're talking now March to November of 2024 would be the delay in fights for John Jones. And prior to that, he hadn't fought in almost 4 years, dating back to February of 2020. Or I'm sorry, over 3 years, because it was March of 2023 when he returned. But one fight in now 4.5 years for John Jones. Again, there is no hate for the man as a fighter. John Jones is undoubtedly, to me, the greatest of all time. But if he's not fighting, if he's injured, right, he tore his pec, now he's dealing with legal trouble. If we can't get him into the cage, why make Tom Aspinall a detriment of that? Why not just let him become the champion? Why not have him fight Stipe Miocic in November? I love Stipe Miocic. He's on my wall back there. He's the Ohio guy. I got to meet the guy twice. Amazing man. Best heavyweight of all time. Most title defenses. But he has not won a fight in over 4 or coming in on 4 years. And he hasn't even fought in over 3 years. Why should he just come right back in and fight for a belt is beyond me. But if the UFC's dead set on having him back, I would just do Tom Aspinall versus Stipe if John Jones cannot make that November date. If he can, and they do John Jones versus Stipe, it is what it is. That'll be the title fight. So be it. I'll, of course, get excited when the time comes. But for right now, I don't really care much about that fight because I want to see John Jones fight Tom Aspinall. I want to see John Jones fight a potential Alex Pereira. I want to see Tom Aspinall get his chance to fight John Jones, get his chance to fight Alex Pereira. You probably heard what Tom Aspinall said last night in the post-fight press conference, and if you hadn't, let me refresh you here. He said that he wants to fight Alex Pereira for the interim belt and have that as the co-main event under John Jones versus Stipe. Then he suggested it being a one-night tournament. That part I'm not big on, but I could totally get behind those two fighting back-to-back on a card, the winner of each fighting each other in the early parts, of 2025 for the championship fight. I don't think the UFC will do that. That is a whole lot of eggs to put into one basket. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to maybe have Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira maybe verbally agreed to behind the scenes, kind of kept in secret. If we get back-to-back years of John Jones versus Stipe falling through and getting canceled, boom, what can your fight be at Madison Square Garden? Tom Aspinall. Then, if John and Stipe get canceled, should just be the undisputed champion taking on the undisputed light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira. For Tom, get a chance to defend the belt once more, and for Pereira, become the first 3-weight world champion in UFC history. That is what I think the UFC should do. Have Aspinall versus Pereira in the back pocket if worse comes to worse. Because right now, if you don't do that for Tom Aspinall next, he's just going to be sidelined, man. Think about it this way. If John and Stipe fight in November, it is almost August. So August, September, October, November, 4 months, Tom Aspinall will be waiting just to see that fight. Then you have to assume at least 4 to 5 months after November before he can fight the winner of Jones and Stipe. So we're talking next spring at the earliest where Tom would just have to sit and wait, all because John got injured and the UFC doesn't want to go away from him and Stipe. I don't think that's fair to Tom Aspinall, who is a proven commodity at this point for the UFC's organization, a star across the board internationally and especially in England. He's done everything in his power to not get treated that way. But the problem is, he can be treated that way because there is no next path for him at heavyweight unless it's Alex Pereira moving up a weight class, because Cyril Gane is booked to fight in October. Volkov is booked against Cyril Gane. That's the rematch. Other than that, there are no other title contenders right now in this division. If you want to just go through the rankings, Pavlovich is on a 2-fight losing streak. Blaydes obviously just lost. I mean, that's it. Jailton Almeida just lost in March to Curtis Blaydes, who just lost to Tom Aspinall, so that doesn't make sense. Tom Aspinall is on top of the world, but in such a weird spot at the same time. So what do you think? What do you make of the heavyweight division? Do you, one, want to see John Jones versus Stipe in November for the heavyweight title? And two, if that is the fight that is made and the fight that happens, what do you do with Tom? Do you just make him the backup fighter and he's there sitting in the front row to call out who's next? Or do you want to keep him active? Do you do a crazy super fight with Alex Pereira? Do you book those two fights to happen on the same night? I just don't know. I would love to see Alex face Magomed Ankalaev and defend his light heavyweight title. But if that means holding Tom Aspinall hostage for the next 8 to 10 months, put that light heavyweight title defense to the side and let Alex come up and try to make history. I don't know. It's a whole lot of craziness and a whole lot of drama in this heavyweight division right now that is so super top heavy. But I just want to see Tom Aspinall fight again in 2024. But if he's waiting for John and Stipe to handle their business, he may just have to sit on the sideline. And for that reason, maybe we do John, Stipe, Tom, and Pereira on the same card. I would just be utterly shocked if the UFC decided to go that route. So give me all your thoughts on the questions I posed in the comments below and everything else in between for the two title fights that went down at UFC 304. If you enjoyed this recap, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Every single week, I recap the most meaningful results from every card. I also break down and discuss the biggest storylines and what is at stake heading into every weekend. And I give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can join the community on social media at the BAJ MMA and follow along on your favorite audio listening platform where every Monday and Friday podcast episodes release. I hope you enjoyed the fights this weekend. I hope you have a great week upcoming, and get ready because the UFC heads next to Abu Dhabi for an absolutely stacked fight card, and you can expect my thoughts and opinions right here for that event on the Below Average Joe's MMA show.